My family comes from Yemen, and I was actually born in Yemen. And then I came to the United States at the age of 3. We got into Buffalo, New York, where my father decided to live at nighttime, and I was asleep. The following morning, I woke up, and I looked outside the window, and there was this huge blanket of white everywhere. And I started running around the house, and I was screaming to my parents, "You have to wake up, there's sugar everywhere. We have to get the buckets, we have to get the pans, we have to fill them all up with sugar, you know?" My father's like, "Honey, it's not sugar." I said, "No, this is America. This is where everybody comes, and this is where you have everything you want, and now I have sugar." It was 8:35. I went into the office, I got the folder for attendance, and I walked out really feeling great because that day the sky was just so blue and the sun was out and the air was really crisp.
This just into our newsroom. A plane has crashed into the World Trade Center.
She said, "Can I speak to you at the door?" So I gave the marker to one of the boys, and I said, "Why don't you finish the problem with the rest of the group till I come back?" And she said to me, she said, "We have just found out that one of the towers has just been hit by a plane."
It is horrific. A second plane the size of a passenger jet flying into the second tower of the World Trade Center.
One of the boys said to me, "I saw smoke outside, and the smoke is coming from the World Trade Center area. The Twin Towers are on fire." He said, "I'm afraid, you know, what's going to happen to us?" And I think at that point, like, you know, just hearing a child say that just really, you know, it scared me.
The Treasury has been evacuated, the Capitol evacuated, the Sears Tower in Chicago has been evacuated, and all of this, the world...
Oh, wait, oh my God, oh my God, the building fell! The building just fell! The entire World Trade Center on the South Building just fell.
Debbie, I know who did it. It's those dumb Arabs that did it to us again. It's those dumb Arabs. So whenever anything happens like this, it's always the Arabs who do this to us. And I said, "Do you guys remember the first day of school when we sat and we were talking here in this circle and we were talking about our childhood and where we come from and how important it is that we really understand each other?" And so the kid said, "Yeah." And I said, "Well, do you guys remember when I told you that I was Arab?" And their jaws dropped.
That is the second tower. That is the second tower.
Down. It's a huge plume of smoke that came out of the middle of the building, and then the building just disappeared in the smoke.
I remember Michael, he said to me, he said, "Well, yeah, that's right, Debbie, but you would never do this. You're a teacher. You would never do this." You know, the same child again said to me, he said, "Debbie, how are you getting home?" And I said, "Well, I haven't thought about it, but, you know, I'm sure I'll be able to get home." He said, "Well, I'm afraid for you." And I said, "Well, what do you mean?" He said, "I'm afraid for you because if I was Arabic and I was going home, I would be afraid." On September 11th, my son, Yusuf, went to his unit. September 12th, they reported to Ground Zero. He was a part of the rescue mission. digging out bodies and everything you could think of. What was really devastating was the days that I would spend waiting for him to call. One day he called and he left a message, and I saved the message, and I kept listening to it over and over again. But then eventually it got erased. He finally got the opportunity to come home. And that night was October 6th. I heard keys rustling at the door, and I reached over to the door and I opened it, and Yusuf was just standing there. His face just looked so tired, and so stressed, and with so many wrinkles, and it was just so scary to look at him. My daughter looked at him and she said, "Are you okay? Because you look really, really tired." He said to her, you have no idea where I've been and what I'm going through." And I heard him say that and I started to cry. I said to him, I said, "How is it out there?" And he just looked up at me and he said, "Mom, I can't even begin to tell you." He said, "It is the most horrid thing that you can possibly see. And I would never, ever want you or Dad or anybody to see what I saw. It's like going to hell and coming back. And that's all you see all day long." He said, "Mom, I can't talk about it." He said, "I can't." And I said to him, "What is stopping you?" He said, "Because if I start to talk about it, I think that I will fall apart and that I can't do anything for myself, for anyone. And I will be an emotional basket, and I'll probably go out of my mind." Then we started to have issues with people being picked up by INS or by the FBI, and we started to organize demonstrations in front of a detention center where there were actually 50 men who were picked up and who were in prison there. And we didn't have their names. We did not know the charges. And quite frankly, many of them who had families did not know whether they were there or if they were in the East River. When I saw it happening to people I knew, that's when it really, truly hit home that this is happening. People who were living in my community who were picked up and detained. My husband was just frightened of what would come next. He was always urging me not to speak publicly at demonstrations and at rallies. He was always asking me to just be careful about the conversations I had in public. You know, you don't know who's listening. You don't know who could take things and turn them around and use them against you. I will never forget that day. 2 investigators came to my house. Wildman, in October, we had received a tip from someone that they had overheard you saying anti-American things. And I said, well, for the life of me, I can't ever think of a moment that I may have said anything anti-American, nor do I have anti-American sentiments. There seems to be a very big misunderstanding here. This is my home. This is my country. My family has come from the Middle East, but that's their country. This is my country. This is where I've chosen to raise my kids, to create a life for myself. I resent the fact that I have to justify my loyalty to you. My loyalty to this country is exemplified in my work as an educator and my work as a community advocate and activist, in everything that I do. No, sorry, we didn't get home in time. My kids, after that happened, they spent like 2 weeks calling me different times of the day and just saying, hey, Mom, so where are you? Like all 3 of them, that was like the famous line, so where are you? And I'm like, I'm at work, you know, I'm at the store, or, you know, I'm still at work. You know, but it was almost like they had to check to make sure I was somewhere. I no longer speak at rallies and demonstrations. My family comes first in my life, and it would, you know, devastate me if anything ever happened to my kids. You know, I hate the fact that I've been silenced. They called me in the spring to develop an Arabic dual language high school. They said to me, you know, Debbie, this is an opportunity for you to bridge the gap between East and West. This is what all of your work is about. Building bridges of understanding.
Let me start by really congratulating each and every one of you. I can imagine, but only imagine, what it's like to start a new school and the excitement and the opportunity and the dream come true quality of it. I don't want to kid you. It isn't an easy assignment. On the other hand, I guarantee you, there's no more rewarding challenge than the work you're going to do.
This was my dream and my aspiration to become a principal. That was it.
That's nice. All right, so
Okay, so we walk in.
So you should have the thing with the what's it?
The acronym with his name, okay.
Yeah, and what else? Little quotes.
Yes, absolutely.
And definitely better paint.
Okay. Alrighty. Hello. But this is actually going to be the hallway, this all the way down until that end. So they're going to knock this wall down. The flags initially would be hanging somewhere out here. So I don't know if we can hang them. Maybe we could even hang them here. So I've actually brought you some flyers. I would love for you to give it out to your families who have 6th graders who are going to go into 6th grade, because that's what we're opening with. Now, you know, we have the opportunity to have kids actually enroll from all over the city.
Yes.
So here's the application. What they need to do is to fill it out, and we're actually, they have to, this is our school right here. But shortly after the school was approved, the blogs came up. I knew that there was going to be opposition to the concept of the school, but I was not prepared for what happened. They portrayed me as a 9/11 denier, that I'm a terrorist sympathizer, and for them to take a quote and not completing the entire quote, just taking the first part, as if I didn't believe that it was Arabs and Muslims. The Khalil Gibran International Academy will be providing all New York City students the opportunity to learn Arabic as a second language. We'll be teaching math, reading, science, social studies. Students will be going to gym.
This school is like over 60 dual language schools that we have in New York City. It's like dual language schools that we have that teach Korean, that teach Spanish.
Is it because there's a Muslim community on Atlantic Avenue that y'all feel the school should be here?
Is the philosophy of the school going to introduce Sharia law? Because I have a real problem with that.
Diversity is a very, very important thing. The United States is built on diversity.
I want our children and the children that come in to know that we preserve our Constitution in this country.
But children in middle school should be learning about the United States and our culture.
Remember you said that you thought that Arabs were not responsible for 9/11?
I never said that.
I have a printed document that says
Never
you
said
said Arabs and Muslims were not responsible for 9/11.
Yeah.
Will you have maps with Israel on it in your school? Will you allow maps with Israel?
Absolutely. They went to the Park Festival in Prospect Park, and they found the booth that was selling these stupid T-shirts. At the bottom of it, it says awam.org, which is the organization that produced the T-shirt. Found out that Awam shares the same space as the organization which I sit on the board in Park Slope, SEBA, the Association of Yemeni Americans. The New York Post wanted to do a story on it. We got on the phone. You know, being that you're a school of language, what does the word intifada mean in Arabic? And I gave him the definition. And I said to him, if you look up the word in the dictionary, it means shake off. I said, however, this word, means different things for different people. And due to the violence in the Palestinian-Israeli conflict, where thousands of people, have been killed, this is not an appropriate word to have because it has this, connotation. He left all of that out. The article comes out. It was absolutely horrific. He basically painted me downplaying the meaning of this word. No matter what it is that I've done to sort of claim my space as an American citizen, it'll always be questioned. And that's the part that hurts. It's I know people in my community work double time to prove who we are and how much we love this country and how much we're a part of this country. But it just, when something happens, that all just goes right out the door.
She said something a couple days ago. She got a question. She's not all that media savvy, maybe, and she tried to explain a word rather than just condemn.
The mayor, he said, oh, she spoke about a word. She's not all that political savvy. She should have condemned the word. I disagree with that. Where are we as a nation when we have leaders telling us that you condemn a word, you don't discuss it, you don't explain it, you don't define it? My American dream was turned into an American nightmare. But I've never felt differently about being an American. I have always loved this country, even when it has, had ugly moments. I'm grateful that I'm getting another day to live and continue to do the work that I am enjoying doing. And at the center of that is actually the New York City public school kids. Everything that I do is for the kids. Whatever decisions that I make, it's always on behalf of the kids. حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على